know the exact time
do
on that.
Do you remember whenever you first saw the big hit, like thinking like, oh man, China, like she is beautiful, like having a big crush on her or anything like that too?
It was never. I certainly thought she was gorgeous.
Right.
No, she wasn't. I mean, for me, I think that the time period's close to the same, but it's not exactly. For me, it was Jennifer Love Hewitt and Can't Hardly Wait was sort of my celebrity crush, and Baby Spice, I believe, around this time those were my big ones at the time. And China Chow wasn't on there for me, but I mean, certainly she's gorgeous. Did you have a thing for China?
I did, and it's like in this weird way of me being from Odessa, Texas, and Odessa, Midland, watching this movie where, you know, not many Asian people in that vicinity of West Texas. And it's like, man, I remember just thinking after I saw this movie of how gorgeous she was. And it's just like, I need to move to LA because I want this different pool of beautiful women that all I get are just white women right here. Yeah. And it's just kind of that thing to where there's so much more outside of this. And it's like, I need to go
that's
there.
Good. I'm glad China Chow made you think that there's more outside of Midland.
Yeah, yeah. And that's why I moved to Chicago and married a white woman.
She was a model before this. And her father's this huge restaurant guy.
Yeah, he's an entrepreneur, like a huge mogul. Yeah.
And that brings us to the man himself, the originator of the Funky Bunch.
Yes.
Mark Whalberg.
Whew.
Bona fide actor at this point.
Huge already, yeah. Especially coming off the year before, man. Yeah.
Oh my gosh. And let us not forget, probably, now if you ask me my favorite films, what I think are really good films, in my top 10 at least, is Boogie Nights.
Easily, yeah. Same here.
Love Boogie Nights. The supporting cast, everything. Mark Wahlberg's great. And he has since asked God for forgiveness for doing the movie. But he has a really interesting start. Like, there's really not a bad movie he did starting off. He did Renaissance Man, which was, not a big hit, but it was a good movie. He's good in it.
Sure.
Basketball Diaries, which I love. Yeah. Basketball Diaries. And he was great in that. Fear. Let us not forget how sexy he is in Fear. I'll never forget him fingering Reese Witherspoon on the... Is it Reese Witherspoon? Am I right?
Yeah, yeah. Reese Witherspoon, yeah.
On the Ferris wheel.
Yeah. The roller coaster.
That's right, yeah.
Don't ever try to do it on a Ferris wheel.
No. Or a roller coaster.
Yeah, honestly. Or a roller coaster for that.
Did you ever see the movie before Boogie Nights he did? It was called Traveler. Did you ever see it with Bill Paxton?
No, I watched the trailer for it as well because I didn't remember. And Bobby, the interviewer, brings it up too at the first of her interview. Me and Paxton are big friends, and like he talks about just getting done with the movie and stuff. Yeah. It's
an interesting movie. I've seen it. It's all about like conning people out of money and doing all sorts of weird tricks with it, and it's a fun movie. But he did Boogie Nights, and I remember an interview he did, and I couldn't find it, where he talks about the big hit being like his like, I did Boogie Nights. I was this vulnerable little wimpy guy. Now I'm going to be badass. Like, this is for my boys type movie.
Yeah.
He didn't say it like that, but that's sort of what the interview was in and around. Because then after this, he does The Corruptor. Three Kings.
Love Three Kings.
Wonderful movie. Yeah. Oh, it's so good. And then he just starts going crazy.
He does.
I mean, he does so many movies.
I mean, yeah, Planet of the Apes, of course, bombed. But, I mean, Rockstar didn't do what... I remember when Rockstar was about to come out.
Yeah.
And I forget who directed it, but they said it was going to be, what Boogie Nights was to the porn industry. Rockstar was going to be what it was to the rock and roll. And it was like, oh, my God, I got to see this. Which I love Rockstar, but it's nowhere near...
Yeah, it's not a love that you love like Boogie Nights.
Sure.
yeah, it's like, oh, this is a fun movie.
Right.
So, Mark Whalberg I'm a Mark Whalberg super fan. I mean, the guy's done it all.
Yeah, and he's about to be in the Uncharted movie coming out, too, next year. So, that's huge.
He has said on record that he could have stopped 9/11 from happening.
Yeah, let's not gloss over that.
Let's not gloss over the fact that he's basically said, let's just say the first class cabin would have had a lot of blood, and I would have been landing the plane, getting a lot of people home to their families, or something along that line. I'm paraphrasing the quote because I don't think it deserves to be said, but you can find it. It's not. It's just a strange thing to say. Mark Whalberg is on the rise here. He's becoming good friends with George Clooney. George Clooney and him start working together on producing. George Clooney produces a lot of his starring vehicles, and that sort of does great things for his career. So this is just like another thing in his portfolio for the big hit, and another example of the Hong Kong influence coming in, because this movie was produced by John Woo.
John Woo, yeah.
Action movie legend. This isn't the film to maybe do a lot on John Woo, so we can keep him brief, because he's so massive on what we like. But, geez, I mean, his first major American film was Hard Target.
Yeah.
Directed Face Off, Broken Arrow, Mission Impossible 2, probably my least favorite Mission Impossible. He's produced a lot of movies. Most of his movies that he's produced are overseas, but his American releases included Paycheck, starring Ben Affleck, The Replacement Killers, which I love The Replacement Killers.
Yeah.
Bulletproof Monk, and The Big Hit. Those are some of his major American releases.
Yeah, I mean, you got Hard Target, Hard Boiled, Bullet in the Head. Yes. You have so many that are just so good that he's produced. I mean, and again, I think we'll probably do a feature where maybe we do like a couple of weeks or something, and we
November or something.
November. I mean, but just with all Hong Kong, Chow Yun Fat too, that we're going to get to.
All his stuff. A Better Tomorrow, Hard Boiled, which is probably top 3 action movies of all. I love Hard Boiled. Yeah. And who else produced this movie, Marcus?
No other than the man himself, the tax non-payer, Wesley Snipes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Man, Wesley Snipes. Here's a guy who loves martial arts. He's doing a lot to bring martial arts to, or at least the awareness of martial arts at this time. He's doing a lot to bring that to the forefront. And so he produced this movie alongside one of his heroes, and John Woo. And he's produced other things. Of course, he produced Blade. But the big thing is he produced this thing called Masters. This isn't the big thing. This is a big thing for me because I remember watching on television Masters of the Martial Arts, where he awarded. You can find it on YouTube. It's like an hour and a half video.
It's worth the whole hour and a half, too.
It's so good.
Sit down. I watched that whole thing. Watch it. We'll post it, but yeah, take a watch.
Yeah, it's basically all these different disciplines of martial arts. He brings them together, masters from around. He has highlight videos of them. He gives them awards. It's this blend of hip hop and martial arts, and you get to see these amazing video clips, and you get to see real masters doing really cool shit. And you get to see, at the time, was a first sneak peek at Blade. So, pretty cool.
I never saw that. And you said you saw that as a child. Did you see that? That's amazing to watch that.
My mother would do things like, I didn't know how to read the TV guide for a long time. Never cared to. But she saw this was coming on and made a note of it and set it up. She did this thing. She would do this thing sometimes where she'd be like, go to your room. And she would have this really cool thing on for me. And she'd be like, and then pretending I was in trouble, but I was really just she'd be nice.
Right.
She would do that with Clash of the Champions, the WCW wrestling, and she did that with this. And I don't know if she just saw it skimming through the channels and knew I would like it, but she was like, go to your room. And I went to my room, and there was this gorgeous 2-hour long thing with commercials of just nothing but awesome martial arts. And Cynthia Rothrock and Wesley Snipes and Benny Enriquez and Don the Dragon Wilson, and just it was badass.
Yeah, I can't imagine just watching the YouTube stuff. It's like it takes you back to that, and I couldn't imagine seeing that Blade kind of teaser trailer too with him and just Wesley Snipes sounding so badass, like that live kind of how it was probably too. Like that was a great take, man. Like he was in character immediately. It was so good.
And the time is like, you don't know. I didn't know Blade was coming out. Didn't even know it was a comic book person. But man, as soon as the trailer it showed, the sword fights with Stephen Dorff, all of his karate or martial arts in the movie, I was more than ready to see that movie. So there are a few other producers as well. Craig Perry, he is partners with Warren Ziti. They made most of their money in the American Pie franchise and the Final Destination franchise.
Yeah.
And I don't know if this is true, but I read somewhere that Warren Ziti's company owns the rights to Soul Calibur and Metroid.
Whoa. How did that... Did you see how it come about, or did you see anything like...
I couldn't find anything else on it. I think it was an IMDb fact. I searched for, like, Metroid rights and Soul Calibur movie rights, and I couldn't find anything as to who owns it. So, I don't know. Maybe they're sitting on a Metroid movie waiting to come out.
No kidding, man.
Directed by Che Kirk Wong. Doesn't look like this guy's directed much in the States since or before, but... he, as a director in Hong Kong and actor, he's done a shit ton of stuff. He was an actor in the movie Legacy of Rage.
Yeah.
You know about Legacy of Rage, Mark?
I've heard of it, but I've never seen it.
Me either. I've never seen it.
But after watching the catalog from this guy, besides Crime Story with Jackie Chan, which I've seen, the other ones I have not, but they all look like fun, just those pulpy action Hong Kong. I mean, exactly what you'd want them to be.
Legacy of Rage is one of Brandon Lee's earlier on-screen roles. I think at least his first starring role, and it was a Hong Kong movie. So, and he directed this. So, I'm all about him. Love him. Screenwriter has been Ramsey. This was his first big screenplay. But I think what most people at this point know him for would be Dragon Ball Z.
Right, Dragon Ball Z, yep. And he did Love and a Bullet with Tretch. I remember watching that before. That's
Blood and Bone with Michael Jai White.
Yeah. Which I wish Michael Jai White would have been the new Jax from that Mortal Kombat teaser that they did a long time ago, man. God.
Yeah, that's true. He, this screenwriter wrote Dragon Ball Z and apparently was so bad that he issued a public apology for it and said he dropped the Dragon Ball. And so he has a sense of humor about it. It was considered a really terrible movie all around. He wrote it, and he owns up to it. But he also wrote the big hit, so he's okay in my book.
He is, yeah.
And before we get into the movie and the facts about it, I just want to touch on the music. The music is done by this guy named Graham Revell. And talk about a 20 years to have, or a decade to have. Listen, I just took out some of the movies that were important to me, but his list is immense.
Okay.
So, he did the score for Street Fighter.
All right.
Basketball Diaries. Hard Target.
Ooh.
No Escape.
Dang.
Remember that?
Yeah.
Tank Girl, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers the movie, From Dusk Till Dawn, Suicide Kings, The Negotiator, and Fled, which, of course, directed by Passenger 57 director Kevin Hooks.
Wow.
What? I mean, Jesus.
I didn't even touch on the soundtrack aspect or composer on this, but man, that's incredible. So, Dusk Till Dawn. What were the other ones that you said? Suicide.
Oh, Mighty Morphin Power Rangers, Tank Girl, No Escape, Hard Target,
No Escape,
Basketball
and Hard
Diaries.
Target too. Yeah, God, that's crazy.
Street Fighter. Jeez. So that's him. I'm gonna do some more research on him and just try to listen to some of his other stuff. But this soundtrack, the actual soundtrack of music that's played in it, the songs are about as 90s, mid 90s as you can get. I can picture them all on TRL.
Oh yeah.
So now we get to a portion I like to call the body count.
I killed them. I killed them all. I see bodies hit the floor.
No, they're all dead. They're all dead.
Marcus, why don't you guess?
Okay, go ahead. I was going to say, did you look at it? Because I was about to look, but I didn't know if you were covering it.
I got the body count. Don't look.
Okay. I was about to look it up, but I'm not going to.
Okay.
If I am taking a guess, man, there's so many like epicenter of big fatality, like a lot of fatalities in this that I'm trying to wrap my mind around how many it would be.
It's tough to go back through them all.
But I mean, Melvin gets the most of them, of course.